Hello, Marbles here. This week has been a very busy week for me. Just kidding, not really. More so just tiring. My dreams have not been noteworthy for the most part. I have some recordings, but they're not that special either. I can't find that dream I keep talking about. I had it a while ago. I'll keep looking for it. I did find messages where I looked up the meanings of parts of it, but that's it. If I can't find it, I'll just talk about what I remember. I did find some other ones that I had forgotten about that were somewhat nightmares, so I'll talk about those today. I'm sorry if they're not fully detailed. Those dreams are from years and years ago, and I only know what I wrote down about them. So I've spoken before about how so many negative things have happened in my life, and how those things make their way into my dreams. Sometimes it's literally, sometimes it's figuratively. The dreams express my past experiences or my feelings, my fears, my anxieties. They express my grief. I am so familiar with grief. I think I'm going to talk more about that in a future episode, about how grief paints my dreamscape. But for now, spooky. I want to see if you can guess, as I talk about my dreams, what some of my fears and my anxieties are. Sorry if I confuse you with my tenses as I talk about my dreams. I tend to go back and forth between past and present tenses. So yeah, whoops. The first dream is called Chernobyl, Ghouls, and Gondolas. I had this one in August 2013. Okay, so I entered the beach resort that I had gone to that weekend through some random door. In the first room, there was a large group of people. After going through that room, I ended up at my Aunt Mary's house. She was there with her 2 children. My brother and 2 other cousins were there too. We are all in my cousin Jazz's room. I pull the curtains open, expecting a beautiful view of the ocean. Instead, I see one of the same buildings that was in the movie Chernobyl Diaries. Coming out of those buildings are mutants, or ghouls. I close the curtain because I don't want them to see us. My aunt goes over to the window, and before she could pull the curtains open to see what I was looking at, I stop her, and I tell her that if she wants to see, to just try seeing through the curtains. Next thing I recall is Alonso going to what's really my aunt's room. He's looking for a gun. I don't think he returns with one. We all go through the house, looking for things we could use as weapons. Alonso grabs a knife. I grab a curtain rod, and then get another one for Jazz. I go back to her room to grab my sweater. My aunt leads us out of the front door where the mutants are sure to see us, so I stop everyone and lead them towards the back door where we won't be seen. Once we're outside, we try to distance ourselves as much as possible from the mutants, but then a barbed wire fence randomly gets in our way. My youngest cousin climbs over it. I climb over it. Then it's my aunt's turn. She gets stuck on it, and she calls for help. No one seems to be helping her, so I do. She's a bigger person than me, but when I went to push her, she didn't weigh anything at all. Then it's my brother's turn and Alonso's turn across the fence. We all hear something behind them. It's a ghoul walking out of that same room that we had entered the resort through. The ghoul doesn't do anything though. She doesn't even look at us. Behind her, we see that there are even more of them, but they're sleeping. So Alonso and my brother take that opportunity. They go back and kill them all before they wake up and chase us. While they're doing that, I'm looking for which way we should all go. I see a path in the woods and tell my younger cousins to follow that path. And then my aunt disappears for this part of the dream. I'm trying to follow the path too, but there's too much climbing and it just easily exhausts me. Up ahead, I see Jazz and my other cousin Kiko, who seem to have no problem whatsoever. I think I go back to the fence and see how my brother and cousin are holding up. They're still fighting. I don't want to stay there, so I decide to try the path again. As I get on the trail, I see something behind me. It's a huge snake with black and yellow stripes on it, and then I realize that it was that snake who made the trail. I try running away from it. Up ahead, I see even more, slightly smaller snakes, but those aren't moving. Then I see a small lake on the left. I decide to jump in it, and Jazz suddenly appears right behind me. We see the huge snake go by us and stop and start to shed its skin. Then we see a crocodile. We try to ignore all the snakes and the crocodile, and we just keep pushing forward. We start seeing less and less trees and finally come upon a paved road. To the left, there's a red wooden bridge, and to the right, there seems to be a city near the ocean. I want to go near the city, but then either my brother Alonso pops out of nowhere and says that we're on an island. Then I realize that the only way we would be safe is if we cross a bridge, which would get us out of the island. Next thing I remember is all of us getting into 2 different cars. Then we ended up outside a store. The window on my side is pulled down. I see someone and they try to talk to me. They ignore my aunt, so I stopped talking to them because I thought that was rude. Then in another part of the dream, we're still in the car and I remember seeing a Ferris wheel. The gondolas on the Ferris wheel were shaped like Xbox 360 controllers. Right as soon as I saw it, I said something about PS3 controllers. My cousin Javi said the exact same thing at the exact same time. That was all. Okay, so I mentioned how fears express themselves a lot in dreams, but sometimes you just dream about things you recently watched or learned about or people you've recently seen, and I think this dream is a good example of that. The movie Chernobyl Diaries came out in 2012. I watched it that August day in 2013, and I gotta be honest, I do remember that it did creep me out, and I think that's why I dreamt about it that night after I had watched it. When I saw it, I also learned that it's based on a real nuclear disaster that happened in 1986. Thousands and thousands of people had to evacuate because of the radiation they were being exposed to. The city of Pripyat, or however you pronounce it, which was nearest to where the explosions at the nuclear power plant happened, became a ghost town. It's been 11 years since I watched that movie, and I'd have to rewatch it to talk more about it and how it relates to the dream. I don't want to do that, but I did look at the trailer to try to remember more about it. I noticed in the trailer that there's a Ferris wheel. There's also humanoid creatures in the movie, which explains the ghouls in my dream. And also at that point in my life, I was really into playing Fallout, and in that game they have ghoul enemies, so that's another reason I think I dreamt about ghouls. Yeah, I will say that I hate snakes. So seeing that huge one shedding its skin and then seeing even more, ugh, I can imagine how I woke up to that. So creepy. Okay, this next dream is titled The Invasion of the Black Creepy Cats. I had this one last year in April 2023. Mike's parents were living in a newer, much larger house. The upstairs area seemed to be like apartments. A bunch of black cats surrounded the whole house. They were really big cats too. They wanted to get inside the house. I told Michael that they can't let their family's black cat out because she'd either be attacked by the other larger black cats, or she'd run away, or we'd lose her amongst the other black cats. The cats appeared to leave, but you could still see them creeping nearby. Then they changed from being cats to being people. They were all wearing black. They started to get closer and closer to the house, looking into every window, looking through the front glass door. They tried to get on the roof. They were looking for any possible way to get inside, and they were trying to be as quiet as possible too, which made it creepier. I think Mike's brother was there at that point, and he was closing off all the entrances, making sure that the doors were locked, and trying to board up windows. I went downstairs to the basement. It was dark, and I was gonna hide there, but then Mike called me, sounding frantic. Next thing I know, we're taking a shower or something. I'm confused because I think that we should be hiding. The people in black managed to find a way in. They vaporize everyone they see, so Mike's parents and brother are gone, and I guess Mike is too. After that, they're like giving a tour of the house to potential buyers. I make my way back to the basement, but then I hear noises. They're trying to break in there too, so I head all the way upstairs to where the apartments are, thinking that I'll be able to hide there. I run down the hallway and start knocking on every single door until someone finally opens their door. I recognize the guy. He's one of the ones that was taking a tour of the house earlier. He lets me in. I feel so relieved as I think that I'm finally safe. I try to plan out how I can leave the area, how I can escape. I don't get to that point though because then the walls get torn down. I don't know what else happened. And that's the end of that. I didn't write down if I had watched anything that would make me dream that. My ex-parents do have a black cat, but they've had her for years, so it's not like something new my brain picked up. I do find it funny though. If you watched my first episode, you know I don't like humans with animal heads, and in this dream, it was animals that turned into humans. It's just very, very ominous. I felt trapped and helpless, like there was no way for me to escape. And that is a very real fear for me, not being able to escape a situation. I'm the type of person that likes to know where the exits are, like at movie theaters and whatnot. Back when I was in school, I'd sit closest to the door if I could. I like sitting or standing near the aisles at concerts. I don't like planes, and you'd never ever find me on a cruise ship. Sorry, Alexandra, I know you want to go to Cancun. I don't really like riding with people to places because that means I'm stuck there until the driver is ready to go. So I like taking my own car if I can, so I can leave whenever. So yeah, imagine how terrified I'd be if I was inside and I couldn't escape because the building was literally surrounded on all sides. No thank you. And then people disappearing out of the blue and me being alone are also big fears of mine. Okay. That is really all I have for this episode. I've been really bad this month at writing things down, but a lot has been happening these last couple of weeks, from worrying about Hurricane Helene to the biolab fire down near my parents, to car troubles, yeah. And then watching the Panic of Florida with Milton, that had my anxiety so high. My heart goes out to everyone that has been affected by this year's weather. Those Milton tornadoes were no joke. I would have been terrified. Like, you have to get down low for a tornado, but then you have to be up high in case of flooding? No, thank you. This year's hurricane season isn't over yet, so let's hope we don't get another one near us. So anyways, I will try to be more consistent about journaling my nightly trips. Even if it's like nothing big, it just consistently writing them down helps me remember them better. Okay, shout out time. I'd like to give a shout out to my little nephew. Happy birthday. Feliz cumpleaños. I can't wait for your birthday party. It's gonna be a chilly one. Well, it will be here. I'm so happy for the lovely weather we're supposed to have this week. I hope you all enjoy it too. Thank you so much for being here again. The likes, the subscribes, not a lot, but whatever, I don't care. It just means a lot to know that some of y'all are listening. I'm not sure exactly what the next episode will be about. Maybe I'll go ahead and include ones about grief, but I also have the ones about work that I want to include. They're not spooky though. We shall see. Y'all stay safe, and don't let the bed bugs bite.